Welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. I was made a post on the MD No Bull forum last night asking for some new questions or topics, and this morning I get up and there's some great ones, so here I am doing it right away. Michael Edwards came up with not one, not two, but 10 questions, and most of them are pretty good. Some of them are stupid. So first question, what has made you cry the most at night? Your arm size or something else? I don't really cry about my arm size. Sure, I wish I had bigger arms, but no, I don't cry about it. I get bummed sometimes. But what really makes me cry, honestly, and people who really know me won't be surprised at all by this, it's sad movies or movies with sad endings. And I do watch a lot of movies at night, of course, because my work's all done for the day. So that's when I watch my movies, usually last few hours before I go to sleep. Some movies, I can't even describe the endings to you of some of these movies without starting to get teared up thinking about it. Because I was a film major. Movies mean a lot to me. The music, the dialogue, the atmosphere, the mood, the settings, they resonate with me. Movies, they hit me harder than a lot of people probably. So Vanilla Sky with Tom Cruise and what's the Spanish woman's name? Anyway, the ending of that movie just gets me every time. I bawl like a baby. Artificial Intelligence with Haley Joel Osment, the Steven Spielberg movie. Wow, the ending of that. Wow, that gets me too. $1 Million Baby, same thing. Oh my God, I cry like a baby with that one. Dead Man Walking. It's the execution scene with Sean Penn and the ghosts of the. I can't even tell you. It's the end of that movie. The execution scene. The ghost of the young boy and girl that he murdered. They're there for a second. The Notebook, of course. Yeah, and I sound like a total wuss by admitting that one, but yeah, that gets me. I mean, anyone who's ever loved someone very deeply like that, like a lifetime bond, I think The Notebook really hits you hard, that movie, because, for obvious reasons. Those of you who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. And all you macho dudes who avoid movies like that, you're missing out. There's more to life than being this macho dude strutting around like you don't have any emotions and you can't cry. I cry constantly when I see these sad things. I'm not ashamed of it. So that was one question. One of the pictures I posted was with me and my Shih Tzu Chewy in the thread asking for questions. So he says, "You're a good man and chose the dog over the cat. Which are your favorite breeds?" It's odd because growing up, I always had, in my house, we always had a dog and a cat, sometimes more than one cat. There were 7 kids and there was all kinds of people and animals in that house. It was crazy. I had a German Shepherd Collie mix growing up named Rebel. And German Shepherds have always been a really cool breed for me. I like German Shepherds a lot. If I got another dog now, I would probably want a Pit Bull. I love Pit Bulls. I think they're the most, they have that combination. They're beautiful dogs, but they're rugged and they're strong and they would get you out of a jam if you ever really needed them to, I'm sure. But like if you ever watch the show Pit Bulls and Parolees, it's crazy to think that that place is just one of many, many shelters across the USA. That place has like at any given moment like 300 dogs trying to get adopted, and some of them are there for years and no one adopts them. And they're beautiful dogs, and I don't get it, But yeah, I would get a Pit Bull. The reason I have a Shih Tzu, I did not pick that dog. That was way back in 2002. She'll be 16 in October of this year. My sister-in-law had picked out a dog at I guess like you'd call it a puppy mill, outside of Worcester, Massachusetts. And she picked out a Maltipoo, and she saw Shih Tzu puppies there and decided she'd pick one out for us. Anyway, it worked out. She's annoying, but we love her to death. Like I said, she's 16. She's getting up there. Do you believe in Atlantis and the 5 power crystals? I don't even know what the 5 power crystals are. Sorry. Atlantis, I suppose it's possible that there was some sort of Greek-like civilization that got destroyed by a flood or something like that. I don't know, but do I believe in Atlantis? Not necessarily. It's weird the things I believe in and don't believe in. I believe in things that some people just think are ridiculous. Bigfoot, I believe there is Bigfoot, a race of these creatures, species, whatever you want to call them. I find it disturbing that we've never really found a body. You'd think if they were a real species of hominid, we would have found at least one skeleton, a body, something by now. Because there's got to be a population of them, right? You can't. There's not just one Bigfoot. There's got to be thousands of them for them to keep, unless they're immortal. I don't know. So I believe in Bigfoot. I believe in lake monsters like the Loch Ness Monster. Zero evidence to back it up. I believe in UFOs. Saw one when I was a little kid. Alien abduction. I believe in that. I believe in paranormal stuff like ghosts and the demonic. I'm very skeptical with people who claim to be psychic, people who claim to be mediums. That's a weird thing. For a lot of them, I think they're just full of shit. I think they're frauds. So I pick and choose the weird shit that I believe in. And Atlantis, no. What are your greatest memories from age 17 to 25? Geez, I mean, I could do a whole hour about that. I'll try to do the highlights. Let's see. Geez, my first year of college, I was 17 when I got to college at UC Santa Barbara, turned 18 there. What a great place for a first year of college, because I was all the way from Boston. I was all the way across the country. And here was this beautiful college right on the Pacific Ocean. A lot of kids, a lot of young guys just specifically chose that college so that they could surf, a few times a week while they went to college. I didn't surf, but I certainly knew a lot of kids who did. And it was a really cool place. I was in California. I was living in California for the first time, and met a lot of cool people. Had a lot of crazy experiences because I went to when college ended. I didn't go right home. I met a girl who was originally from Massachusetts. She was an actress, and she was living down in Venice in a house that she shared with a couple people, one of whom was a guy that was like more of a friend from my hometown, Waltham, Massachusetts. So that summer of 1988, I was 18. I would turn 19 later. It's the end of September is my birthday. So that was a really cool summer. I drove all around LA and had some crazy experiences. Did not go to Gold's Venice. I was afraid to. I trained at like a Nautilus Plus. I was all into Nautilus back then. But I was in good shape. I was small. I was like 145 pounds, 150 pounds. Had long hair, a mullet, curly in the back. Walked around in my little bike shorts. Like I said, I was on and off with this older woman. She was 24. I was 18. She was in a few movies. So it was a pretty crazy experience for me. And then I went to that fall. I had transferred back to Emerson College because I knew I wasn't going to get jack shit done out in UCSB because nobody was there for 4 years. Everybody I talked to seemed like they had been there. The older upperclassmen had been there for 5, 6, even 7 years to get their 4-year degree. So I was kind of in a rush to get my life going, and I didn't want to hang out there. As much as I loved it, UCSB, adjacent to it, there's a street called Del Playa Drive with a lot of beach. It's all beach houses that the students rent, most of them. So every weekend it was like huge parties, huge keg parties, bands on the inside the houses, on the lawns, and then you have the ocean right in back. It was just amazing. But like I said, I had stuff to do. If I just wanted to be a professional student, I would have stayed there forever. But I transferred back to Emerson College in Boston, and that was a cool place. Very creative. It's a communication school. A lot of really smart, funny, talented people went there. One of the guys I was in my class. I didn't really know him. I saw him in classes in my film. He directed. It was Paul Anderson. He ended up directing Boogie Nights, Magnolia, a few movies. So it was a good group of people. And again, I hooked up with this girl there briefly, who was. Her family was the wealthiest family in Morocco, and I didn't know that until I talked to someone who happened to be Moroccan, and their jaw dropped when I said what her last name was and who her family was. They were pretty amazed. Anyway, that didn't work out. But the next year, I met my wife, and that's the most of the rest of my memories of that time would include my wife. I started dating her at the end of '89. I moved out to LA in early '91, January '91. We were engaged. We got married in June. So that first year that we were out there together, we trained at Gold's Gym Venice. We would drive out there, or we would go down to Gold's Gym in Fullerton. Those were the two best gyms in Southern California as far as I was concerned at the time. And everybody who was anybody, I would see, Sean Ray, Gary Stridham, Flex Wheeler, Chris Cormier, Mike Christian, on and on. Everybody was at those gyms. Between those two gyms, you pretty much saw anybody who was everybody. And to be able to train alongside those people with the best equipment, and the cool thing about Venice, training Gold's Venice, for those of you who've been there, is you train and then you can spend the whole day there. You walk down 2 blocks, you eat at the Firehouse. There was like the Max Muscle clothing shop, and there were other clothing shops around there. You could pick out some new workout clothes if you wanted. There's the beach. You could go to the beach, or you could just walk up and down the boardwalk and people watch with all the street performers and tourists. And there's a lot of crazy, eccentric people down in Venice. It's not quite the same. I've been back. It's not what it used to be, but it was still pretty cool. And so 17 to 25, I was married at 21, had my first child at 24. So that was a pretty amazing experience. Changed my life. Of course, those of you who are parents, you know what I'm talking about. Your life's never the same after that. So yeah, 17 to 25 was a lot of great memories. Jeez, I better keep this moving. Will you stay at MD until you retire? I have no idea. I don't have like the 20-year plan. I'm enjoying it. I think I'm doing a good job. I'm grateful to Steve Blackman for the opportunity to make a decent living and support my family doing what I love, writing about bodybuilding, going to the shows. It's a good gig. Honestly, I don't know where else I could do exactly what I'm doing now and still be paid well for it. And, it's cool. I don't take it for granted, ever. I know you can lose any job or anything can be gone like that. Whatever you have in life, money, fame, power, it can be gone like that. So I try to be appreciative every day of what I have. That actually leads to a question that's coming up later. Who are your top 5 at the Classic Olympia? Well, in no particular order. I do think it's going to be Breon and Bumstead again battling it out this time. And I don't know who's going to win. I don't know. I know Bumstead's improved. I don't know exactly how much he's improved until I see him on stage as far as his arms and his back. Breon is in Kuwait right now. He's at Oxygen Gym training for Olympia. I'm sure he's going to look fantastic. You also have Arash. You can't leave Arash out. He looked phenomenal at the Arnold Classic. He's going to be pushing those guys hard. The new guy, Wesley Vissers, I'm very excited. If he can be a little fuller, a little leaner, get his color right, from what I saw in Chicago, he could be up there too. He's got a hell of a physique, that kid. Wesley. George Peterson, DeBull, 3rd place last year. Of course, he's going to be in the mix. I've said before, I think he's more of a bodybuilder. A classic bodybuilder, though. I don't, where else are you going to put classic bodybuilders but classic physique? Not everyone's going to have that, those proportions of the crazy tiny waist and the crazy wide shoulders that guys like, Bumstead and Vissers have. Steve Laureus, the new guy from New York by way of Haiti. He comes in really good shape. He's going to be battling these guys for sure. And Courage, I'm not sure how you say your name, guy, Opara, who Giles and I were both really impressed with at the Arnold. And he wasn't in great condition. Its shape and size, proportions, structure, everything was just right on. So we were both thinking, geez, if this guy gets a little leaner, wow, look out. And I was also very impressed at the Toronto Pro with the young kid, Terrence Ruffin. He needs to be bigger for sure. But if he gets a little more fullness, he's got everything. He's got a hell of a physique, that kid. Just needs to fill out a little more. Come in, dial it in, sharp, of course, and he'll be up there. So that wasn't my particular order. Sorry, I don't like to do particular orders for contests because you never know what's going to happen. You don't know who's going to really nail it, who's going to be off. And seeing these guys by themselves, it's really hard to try to assess how they're going to do against each other. You really do need to see them all on stage, move them around, see them next to each other in various poses. That's when you get a much better appreciation of what each guy has compared to what the other guys have, what they lack compared to what the other guys lack. And then you sort of, like the judges do, you narrow it down to this guy, that guy, and you get your winner. Favorite type of pizza? Cheese. I'm pretty boring with the pizza. If there's a bunch of toppings, I'll eat them, sure. Meatballs. I'm always up for more protein, so pepperoni, meatballs, barbecue chicken, whatever you want to throw on there. Because just cheese, it's not really not enough protein, obviously. So typically I will go for something with more toppings, just because if I don't get enough protein in a meal, I feel guilty. How have you cured your depression in the past? I don't think I've ever really talked about depression, but I think we've all gone through depression at one time or another. I did have a run of it in the mid-2000s, like around 05, 06. I got on some Wellbutrin for probably almost 2 years. Felt better. But then, I got off it because I said, what am I going to be on this forever? For what? It really just came down to changing my attitude and the way I looked at things. So I tried to just be a lot more grateful for what I have instead of, feeling bad about the things I don't have or that other people have, or, because if you really stop and think about it, you always have something to be thankful for, if not many things to be thankful for. Also, another thing with depression, I think would apply to anybody if you're depressed, is to try to stay busy, focus on other things, work, hobbies, your family, anything that's really going to keep you busy and keep you from just being inside your own head all the time with those racing thoughts. Because, depression's no joke. We've all known people who suffered badly from it. I'm sure many of us know I've known a few people who took their own lives, friends of mine, and it's tragic. I mean, one of them, one kid was only 26 years old, a training partner of mine. He left behind 2 young boys. That was tough. It was tough, Mario. I missed the kid. He was a good kid. And unfortunately, he never got the help that he needed for it. Okay, do any of your other family members follow bodybuilding? No, not at all. Not at all. 10, will you grow your hair out if Heath loses the Olympia this year? No way. I don't like my hair to be much longer than it is right here, right now. So I don't have curly hair or anything like that, but I just don't like a lot of volume of hair. It feels like bushy to me. I'd rather keep it shorter. I think I look better with shorter hair. If you see any of my old pictures on Facebook of my album, when I did have much longer hair when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I had like a mullet down, probably halfway down my traps. It was a significant mullet, but I would never do that again. It would not be a good look for me now. Okay, so now from Taz Devil, those are all from Michael Edwards, by the way, all those questions. Thanks, Michael. That was a nice variety of questions. You were all over the place, and I hope I answered them for you well. Taz Devil, possible interview with Josh Lenardowitz? I would love to interview Josh. I had hit him up on WhatsApp a couple times, like last year, trying to get a online interview with him. He never got back to me. If anyone knows Josh, please let him know. I would love to have him on as a guest. I know for a while, after Dallas's passing a year ago, I don't think he wanted to talk to anybody for a while in an interview capacity. I don't know how he feels about it now. I'd certainly love to talk to him. I think he's a fantastic bodybuilder. Seems like a great guy. I've been around. I was there at the Tampa Pro last year when he won, and Giles interviewed him. And I haven't really I interviewed him for the magazine for one article, but all my dealings with him so far, he's been really cool. I'd love to interview him again. So yeah, if anyone out there knows Josh, please let him know. I'm on WhatsApp. I'd love to do an interview with him. So now we have some questions. He says, "What about yourself?" Which, okay, great. This is my favorite subject. I could talk about myself all day, like most of you. He says, "I can recall the Muscle Mag days with Bob Kennedy and the likes of Johnny Fitness and Don Ross. Your writing stood out." Thank you. That was those were great days. I miss Bob Kennedy and Johnny. Johnny's still alive. I haven't heard anything about him passing. Gino Edwards, great guy. I never really got to talk to Bob much. Occasionally, Gino would call me up to talk about an article, and he'd say, "Hold on a minute," and he'd transfer the call over to Bob, and I was like, I don't know if I'd say intimidated, but he was just he was such a cool guy, Bob Kennedy. He had such a love for the sport, and he was just a really good guy. Everybody loved Bob. No one ever had anything bad to say about him. He was a nice guy, passionate about the sports, loved the athletes. he still had that passion for it that, a lot of people lose over the years, especially if they've been making their living in the business for, decades and decades, as he already had been at that point. But he still had that enthusiasm for it. He still loved it. And he was all about promoting the athletes and making the magazine exciting, making bodybuilding exciting. And yeah, I loved Bob. I loved the fact that, and I appreciate the fact, he and Johnny Fitness, Gino, they gave me tons and tons of assignments. I worked in TV production from 1991 to 98 for that ESPN American Muscle show, and then I either quit or got fired, which the details of that are still hazy. But for 2 years, I had been writing that on most of that time. I started doing magazine articles in 92, but it was sporadic. It was certainly nothing I could live on. But once I got left that company or got fired, whatever it was, in 98, I said, I think I'm a pretty decent writer. I can work fast. I want to make a go of this. I'm going to be a full-time writer. And it took me 2 years to get to that point, and it was because of the Kennedy publications in 98, 99, giving me tons of assignments in 2000. Those 3 years were very pivotal years for me with establishing myself as a writer, because by the end, by 2000, I was a full-time writer. I was a trainer there for about 2 years at the World Gym in Pasadena, which is, nothing against training, but it's a lot of work. You're up very early in the morning. You're in and out of the gym. You get sick of being in the gym. I knew I wanted to be a writer, put it that way, and they made it possible. They gave me tons of assignments for Muscle Mag and for their men's fitness magazine, and I cranked them out. I wanted them to be happy with the work, of course, and they were. And I'm very, very grateful to them, because they did allow me to become a full-time writer by giving me so much steady work and checks in the mail that, okay, now I can pay my mortgage with this. I can pay my car payment with this. I can buy my groceries for my family of 4 with this. So yeah, love those guys. He says, without pissing in your pocket, which this must be a New Zealand phrase, pissing in your pocket, it means complimenting someone. You provided significant guidance and motivation for my own training with your articles. Be good to see you one day at the Arnold Australia. You'd like Doherty's to train, and the Australian supporters of bodybuilding are the best in the world. Oh yeah, I mean, my son-in-law is from Australia. He's from Sydney, and they had their wedding 2 years ago here. Not a big wedding, but supposedly they're going to have a big wedding in Australia. I don't know when, and theoretically I'll get over there for that. I'd love to get over for the Arnold Australia. I'd love to. I don't think our coverage budget is what it used to be for MD to be flying me all over the place. It's always more convenient to have local people that are more local, do the coverage for these international shows. But my passport is updated, and I'm ready to go to Australia or somewhere cool if I ever get the chance, for sure. I'd love to see Doherty's gym. Met Tony a few times, great guy, and everyone who's ever told me about his gym has just raved about it. So yeah, I'd love to go to Doherty's gym. Overlooked, that's his name, says, do you feel you ever push more than you should have on a cycle? That's one question. Yeah, definitely. I tried. The more is better. I never did GH because I was too cheap, and I was always very skeptical of what I was able to get from people at the time, so I didn't bother with it. But regular gear, I certainly did some cycles that were, I pushed up to like the 3 grams a week range, which for me is a lot. And I think that's a lot for anybody, realistically. I know people do a lot more than that, but I think 3 grams of steroids a week for, 12 weeks or more, that's a lot of drugs. The one time that stands out in my mind as being the worst, the dumbest shit I ever did was 2002 New England. The last couple weeks, I had these Winstrol tabs from IP, International Pharmaceuticals. They were 50 milligram, little blue, I believe they were circular tabs. So they're 50 milligrams each tab. Most people that take orals will do 50 milligrams a day, 100 milligrams a day of the orals. I know there are guys that do a lot more than that. I know, I'm well aware of that. I think more than 100 milligrams a day of orals is insane if you're doing it for any length of time. And this is why. I did it for the last 2 weeks. I'd randomly just reach into my cabinet and take one. So there were days I probably took 5 or 6 of them. for those 2 weeks. I probably averaged like 4 to 6 a day. So that's a minimum of 200 milligrams of oral. And this is on top of whatever else I was doing, which was Pyrrolic tests, Tren, Masteron, I don't know. It was a lot. I was on a lot of shit. But anyway, did the contest. I looked great. Then I had my yearly physical. I think like a week later, it just happened to be that's when it was scheduled. You got to make these appointments way ahead of time. And that's when I had made my appointment. And I did the blood work. And the doctor called me. And he was alarmed because he said, I think you have hepatitis. You better get back here, do some more blood work, some more testing. I said, oh, no, you know what? I'm a bodybuilder. I just did a contest and I was doing all these oral steroids. And that's why my liver enzymes are through the fucking roof right now, dude. He was very judgmental. He was overweight and he smoked. And we actually had it out the next time I saw him because he was really trying to make me feel like a bad person because I was using steroids. So rather than just treat me or recommend that I stop using them, he was scolding me like a child. And I said, I'm a grown-ass man and I don't need to listen to this. You're my doctor. Technically, you work for me. So no, we're done. So that was the last I saw that guy. Anyway, so probably a few times over the years, I pushed the weekly totals up to around 3 grams and did not see any better results than I had at 1.5 grams or 2 grams. It really is. I know people will say, well, it's dose dependent. You will see better results. I think up to a point you will, but beyond a certain point, which varies from person to person, you're just going to do more damage to yourself and have more side effects. You're not going to see more muscle mass or, a harder look. It's just going to be detrimental effects after a certain point. Okay, Squat Junkie says, just like me, you're an older guy. While the big 50 is creeping up on you, because I'll be 49 next month, what do you fear the most? Death. I fear death because I don't know what happens. Is there a hell? Is there a heaven? We don't know for sure. I don't know what awaits us. To me, it's. I don't know what's scary is the idea of a hell where you're eternally tortured. That sucks. It's hard to think that, unless you're like some Saddam Hussein or Ted Bundy, some mass murderer, I find it hard to believe that you can't be tortured enough to pay for whatever sins you committed in a 40, 50, 60, 70-year-old life on Earth for eternity. That just boggles my mind. Why would you have to be tortured forever and ever, if you were just like a liar or I don't know, lesser things that weren't as heinous. But anyway, yeah, death, I would say death. Do you actually feel, as a side note, I think even scarier maybe is a thought that you just blink out. There's nothing. Like your consciousness is just gone. Like that, to me, that's incomprehensible because I do believe we are eternal in terms of like spirit or energy. I think whatever you want to call it, a soul, your spirit, your life force, I find it hard to believe that can be just gone because it's energy, and energy, it can't be destroyed. It changes forms. So I do believe that we live on forever in some form. I don't know what that form is, obviously. Do you actually feel the years climbing, or do you agree that it's all between one's ears? I still look pretty good, I think, for my age. I feel pretty good. My joints are definitely not what they used to be, and that's where I feel it the most. I have like almost this is as far back as, can you see this? This is as far back as that arm rotates. Not very far. So there's pain in that shoulder if I push certain things. So I had to alter my training. That's his next question. And knee problems, starting to get a little pain in my right knee. My lower back has been iffy for many, many years. So that's what I feel the most is, little nagging injuries that don't allow me to do what I'd like to do in the gym. Things I did in the past. Things that I see the young guys doing every day. I'm like, I used to do that. I see them deadlifting and squatting and benching, all this heavy stuff, heavy overhead pressing. I'm like, I should do more than that, but I can't do it now. Do you change your training regimen and diet now that you're getting older? Yeah, definitely. Well, like I said, there's certain things like overhead pressing I can't do with free weights right now. I just can't. I need another shoulder surgery. I'd probably need a full replacement. I have a hernia. The hernia doesn't affect my training. It's just like a bump. It's weird looking. My lower back, a lot of times I can't squat. I'll have to leg press or hack squat. So there's exercises I can't do at all anymore. There's a lot of exercises I can't go heavy on anymore. I can still do them, but I'll have to do them like later in the workout. Like overhead pressing, I can do on machines, but I have to. Typically, it's better if I wait until the end of the workout and I'm a little fatigued. I don't have to go as heavy, because if I go heavy, I immediately feel I can hear and feel this like ratchety click, 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 click inside there. That's the bone on bone, because the cartilage is all gone. I had a surgery in 2011 called decompression, where they cleaned it out and made some room, but the doctor said this is temporary. It's gonna be an issue in a few years, and yeah, it's an issue again. In your opinion, what are the most important things to take into account for a lifter who's dealing with the inevitable climbing of the years? I'll get to diet at the end. You definitely have to warm up more. You can't jump into heavy weights. You shouldn't, because you're far more susceptible to injury. Your body has all this wear and tear on it, the joints, the tendons, the ligaments. If you've been lifting heavy for, like I'm in my 35th year of training now. That's a long time to be training with weights, a long time. And it's not like I got replacement parts at any point. It's the same bones, same joints, same connective tissues. So yeah, I have to be very, very careful. And anyone who's older and has been training a long time, take your time to warm up, work within your capacities. You have no business doing low reps with heavy weights. There's sets of like 3 to 5 reps. I don't believe anyone who's been training a similar amount of time as me should be messing around with that. For what? Unless you're a power lifter. If you're a power lifter, you do what you got to do. For bodybuilder, like, I wouldn't do anything now that I couldn't get 8 reps with. That's it for upper body. Even lower body. Sometimes I'll go as low as 8 on the lower body, but mostly upper body, I work in the 8 to 12 range, sometimes up to 15. Lower body, mostly 10 to 15. Sometimes I'll push it to 20. But I'm not going that heavy anymore. It's the risk-reward benefit. The ratio for me is not doesn't justify it. It's not like I'm going to get a lot bigger by training heavier. It's just going to probably get me hurt, which is historically what happens when I do go heavier and heavier. Diet, I do have to be, if I want to stay leaner, I have to be much more attentive to clean eating. I can't get away with eating as much crap as I used to. I do need to hit more cardio. I've cut my carbs back significantly from the amounts that I used to eat in my younger years. If I ate the amount of carbs now at 48, almost 49 that I did in my 20s or even my 30s, the fat would accumulate. And when I get leaner now, it takes me longer and I have to eat cleaner and I have to do more cardio. So my metabolism, which was pretty fast for many, many years, it's slowing down. I think that's, for vast majority of men, you'll see the same thing happen to you. There are weird exceptions like Dexter, and do not think that because something works for Dexter or applies to Dexter, it applies to you. He's a very unique genetic case. You're not Dexter. I'm not Dexter. Dexter's Dexter. What is it? For me, it's getting out of the comfort zone versus no magic tricks. Hope you know what I mean. Yeah, I mean, you do have to find ways to stimulate the muscle while still being cognizant of avoiding injuries and avoiding overtraining. I don't think, I still train with a pretty decent amount of volume, but I'm not in there for 2 hours with the weights. But I've been training by myself for the past couple months now. Just schedule-wise, it didn't really make sense for me and Goon to train anymore. At least for now, my schedule's all over the place at times. But if you can't get it done if you're training by yourself, you should be able to get the weight training portion of your workout done in an hour, maybe hour and 15 minutes. If not, then you're taking too much time between sets. You're stalling. You're walking around talking to people, going to the water fountain when you should be carrying water with you or whatever. So I try to make my workouts a little quicker and more to the point, not waste much time. I stick with the movements that I know work well for me and that are safe for me, that I can still work hard on and use some decent weights on. And that's working out well for me. I'm about 224, 225 right now, in decent shape. And, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. I'm always looking to be better and better. I'm always striving for improvement. I'm never satisfied. I'm always trying to improve little things here and there. But that's about it. I want to thank you guys for the questions. That was cool of you to step up so quick like that with so many great questions so I could get this one done today and out to you. So that is it. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the MD YouTube channel, and I'll talk to you all later.